Welcome back. Namibia has recently been shaken by a number of serious crimes involving minors crimes that go far beyond what many would traditionally associate with juvenile delinquency. Incidents involving murder, violent assault and drug-related offences committed by children as young as 13 have raised deep concern amongst parents, communities and policymakers alike. And tonight we're joined by Deputy Commissioner Kauna Shikwambi of the Namibian Police to help us better understand what is driving this disturbing trend, how the law responds when minors commit serious crimes, and what processes are followed from the moment a child is arrested until they appear before the court. Deputy Commissioner, good evening and thank you so much for joining us here on the Daily Roundup.
Good evening, Nina. Thank you for having me and compliments of the new year.
Thank you so much for joining us and the same to you. Deputy Commissioner, just to start off our conversation this evening, from a policing and investigative, perspective, how concerned is NAMPOL about the rise in serious and violent crimes committed by minors in Namibia?
Nina, violent crimes remains a concern. So I will really maybe just say that any unlawful act, and especially when it's committed by a child, should be a serious concern. Not just to the Namibian Police Force, but I want to believe that it should be a concern for any parent, any guardian, or perhaps the society at large. When such incidents happen, it really pains a parent, because as police officers, we are parents equally, and questions are always asked why, and what circumstances have really led to the child's behavior. So it is a very serious concern for all of us. It should be. But now from the police perspective, nevertheless, and irrespective of the age, when any crime is committed, as a police force, we are duty-bound to act. The law requires that all violation or criminal activities must be addressed. Legal processes must be followed, and it does not discriminate whether it is a child or an adult. The law must take its course. So that alone should make us all feel very concerned when any criminal activity is conducted or is done.
You mentioned earlier that, one of the things that comes to mind is we ask the question why. What are the circumstances that lead to this happening? So what are some of the key contributing factors that, law enforcement has identified when it comes to minors committing serious crimes such as, murder, armed robbery or drug-related offences?
Nina, though all contributing factors are perhaps not known during investigations, maybe I can highlight the fact that history has also demonstrated that a number of young offenders are in most times implicated in drug-related crimes, substance abuse. And like I said, history has taught us that that is one of a major contributing factor to violent and or criminal behaviors. But then on the other hand, one can also then look at some of the stats or reports that we have, that the other contributing factor could be as a result of emotional stress. It could include anger. It could include perhaps disciplinary conflicts within the family environment or family setup. I listened to your program the other day with Minister of Gender Social Worker, where you spoke about neglect. That could also be a contributing factor, because the child needs things, And so they opt to perhaps stealing, robbing valuables, or grabbing valuables. So, yeah, there might be a number of contributing factors. Yeah. Like I said, perhaps they are all not known during our investigation.
Yeah. Well, in a recent case, Deputy Commissioner, involving a 13-year-old accused of killing an adult woman and a minor child, the suspect's identity was withheld from the public. Why are minors protected in this way, even in cases involving very serious crimes?
We are in a democracy, and the Namibian laws make provision for the protection of children. We are speaking about the Children Act, Child Care and Protection Act of 2015. Yeah, it's a new act after the other one was repealed, which clearly prohibits. Let me give an example, because now we are talking about the protection of a minor. So the act prohibits the filming of a child, the publication or any any information that may reveal the identity of a child that is involved in whatsoever untoward or criminal conduct or involved in court proceedings. And that also include their names, their addresses, schools, or anything that would possibly identify such a child. And I want to believe that the lawmakers deemed it fit that it is done for the well-being of the child, for the dignity of the child, the future of the child, because a child is just a child. And of course, perhaps to reduce then the risk of further harm or victimization and so on. But all in all, the Namibian laws make provision that children, whether they are victims or suspects of crime, they must be protected.
When a minor is arrested for a serious crime, what happens immediately after the arrest? Talk to us about that. Are they placed in holding cells with adult suspects, or are there separate facilities and procedures for children?
We spoke about the protection of the children, that there is a legal framework in that regard that considers these minors with a special protection. Now, I want to indicate that you ask when a minor is arrested, isn't it?
Yes, correct.
And I want just to repeat that there are several laws that govern the arrest as well as the detention of minors.
Right.
And these are children under the age of 14. The Act governs the right and protection of the children, including those in conflict with the law. So when the child is involved in whatsoever criminal activity, the Act empower the children's court. Because when a child is involved in whatever criminal activity, in the first instance, their rights, their safety and well-being are prioritized. And then, of course, social services are engaged in the process to assist the child, and the social services also to assist the investigation and guide the court. So now when all these necessary inquiries are conducted, the matter is then referred to the court. And that's now where the court empower or make appropriate, what do they call it, care-based orders. So the children's court can order that the child be returned to the parent or in the guardian care. The court can also order that the child be placed in custody of a foster parent or anyone suitable and deemed fit by the court. The other one is that the court can also order that the child can be sent to a children's home, to a school of industry, or to a place under supervision of any person who are working for the protection, welfare of such a child. And in this regard, I want to make a reference to the various shelters that we also have, so that we have people who are working for the protection of those children. So that's, in a nutshell, what I can recall happens after a minor is arrested. That is the process.
You did clarify that when we speak of minors as children under 14, so when it comes to children who are still, within the teenage years, let's say 16, 17, 18, how is the process then different for older teenagers?
The older teenagers, we regard them as juveniles. And the law makes provision that those children face the wrath of the law like any other adult. But then as a police force, there are special arrangements. They are not detained or together with adults. There are special cells for them where they are being kept. Yeah, but when we're talking about the minor, we're talking about the children up to the between 7 and 14. Yeah, those the law term them as minors.
Deputy Commissioner, from a CID and NAMPO perspective, are psychological or social evaluations conducted on minors accused of serious crimes? And what aspects are addressed during these evaluations?
Nina, I think earlier I was trying to explain the arrest or the detention of a minor at the children's court. I mentioned the services of the social workers. Yeah. So then I really want to say that absolutely, in any case where a child is a victim or a suspect, we have social workers who play a very critical role. And our investigators know that from the onset, as soon as an incident or a crime is reported involving a child, the investigators must involve a social worker. Because cases of children are really sensitive, if I may say. Cases of children can be traumatic. Now, as a police officer, we attempt to be not really harsh. Of course, the humanity is also within us. But the social worker is somebody who's trained to be able to handle anyone, irrespective of what emotional or trauma that you are going through. So social workers are always supporting us in our investigation. And what is very important is that they always facilitate the communication with a child to the court throughout the entire process. So yes, psychological and social evaluations or assistance is also involved in our investigation when we are dealing with minors.
How does the criminal justice system, balance accountability and rehabilitation when dealing with minors who commit crimes that carry very heavy sentences for adults?
So this is a tough one, which maybe I would have said that the Ministry of Justice would respond to. But primarily, this is addressed within the criminal justice framework. I will really not be able to give you perhaps adequate information on this question that involves the criminal justice system.
Very well, Deputy Commissioner. Just finally then, what role can parents, schools and communities, even government institutions play in preventing minors from reaching a point where they become involved in such extreme criminal behavior?
Can you repeat that, Nina?
I was just asking the role that parents, schools, communities, caregivers, and even perhaps government institutions, the role that they can play in preventing minors from reaching a point where we see them becoming involved in such extreme criminal behavior.
Oh, yeah, the role of parents, the role of everyone, the role of society. I've mentioned earlier that this is a serious concern to all of us. So the role that parents or school or community or anyone can play is that we need to guide our children. We need to display or be positive role models to our children. We need to safeguard our children, prioritize the protection of our children. And as a society, my urge is perhaps that we need to work together to create those safe environments. Gone are the days when we were raised by the entire streets in the dusty streets of Chumeb. But irrespective, every parent, every teacher, everyone needs to get involved or perhaps guide the next parent. Perhaps some parents are young, it's first child. You who has been in the business before, guide that single mother, for example, guide those parents, that couple, so that they prioritize the safety of our children, so that they brought up the child in a nurturing environment, so that they avoid exposing the children to violence. We have domestic violence issues where couples, families are fighting in the presence of the children. We need to do away with all that. And we need to instill moral values in our children, also teaching them on the bad and the good. Where there are signs of danger or, warning signs that perhaps there's a danger with the child, we need to seek help. There are professionals out there, the social workers particularly. They are the people who can really assist us in bringing up our children and making sure that we prevent them from involving or getting into criminal activities or behaviors.
Well, Deputy Commissioner, thank you so much for joining us here on the Daily Roundup this evening for this discussion. We appreciate your time.
Thank you, Nina. Thank you so much. And may 2026 be a better year for all of us.
Indeed so. Well, that was Deputy Commissioner at the Namibian Police, Kauna Shikwambi, speaking to us about criminal acts committed by minors and how the law goes about handling that.